Hello everyone, have a nice day. Today we'll explore a powerful turning point between James and Phat when Phat receives devastating news about his mother, and CEO James arrives without hesitation, bringing not just money, but a promise that could reshape their future. We'll also follow James as he returns to Diep, trying to protect her from the shadow of his father while holding on to a rare moment of peace. If you find it interesting, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. The black bag hit Phat's table with a dull, final thud, like a judge's gavel in a house that had never known courtrooms. Phat stared at it as if it might explode. His hands hovered over the zipper, trembling, then froze again. Across from him, James didn't move. No speeches, no drama, just that CEO stillness, controlled, unreadable except for the tension in his jaw, the kind that came from holding back a storm. "Open it," James said, voice low. Phat's throat worked. "James, open it." The zipper rasped. Bundles of cash stared up at them in neat, brutal stacks. Phat went pale. No, I can't." 500 million, James said, cutting through the panic before it could grow teeth. For a second, daylight outside the open window felt offensive birds chirping, a motorbike passing, a normal village morning pretending nothing was wrong. But inside that red-tiled house, the air tasted like herbal medicine and fear. From the back room came a cough, thin, strained, like someone trying to breathe quietly so she wouldn't become a burden. Phat flinched at the sound. James's eyes flicked toward the back room, then back to Phat. "Your mother needs the hospital, today." Phat swallowed hard, lips shaking. "I called you because I didn't know who else, but this is too much." James leaned forward slightly, forearms on the table, making the small space feel smaller, more honest. "When my world started collapsing, you didn't ask me how much it would cost you. You stood there. That was different." "It wasn't." Phat's eyes burned. He tried to push the bag away like it was a sin. James's hand came down over Phat's firm pressure, steady warmth, not gentle but grounding, the kind of grip that said, "Don't drown here, not now." "This isn't charity," James said. "This is what allies do." The word allies sounded clean, strategic, but the look in James's eyes didn't match business at all. It matched something older, something like debt, like respect, like a promise you made in your bones. Phat's voice cracked. "I'll pay you back, I swear." James's gaze sharpened. "Don't." Phat blinked. James lowered his voice even more, like he didn't want the walls to hear. "Just tell me the truth when it matters. And when the time comes when my father comes for me again, don't hesitate." That landed heavier than the money. Phat breathed in, ragged, and for a second he looked like the confident man James usually knew, and like a son terrified of losing his mother at the same time. He wiped his face with the back of his hand, eyes shining. "If you stand," Phat said, forcing steadiness into his voice, "I stand to the end." James held his gaze, measuring, trusting, sealing something without ink. Then he gave one short nod, as final as a signature. Outside, the village lane blazed under the sun. James walked Phat to the gate without lingering, because the house didn't need a scene, it needed action. Phat clutched the bag tight to his chest, like it could vanish if he loosened his grip. "You're going now," James said. Phat nodded quickly. "I will, James. Thank you." James didn't accept the gratitude, didn't refuse it either. He only stepped closer and squeezed Phat's shoulder once firm, almost harsh, like he was pressing courage directly into muscle. "Keep your phone on," James warned. "If anything feels wrong, you tell me first." Phat's jaw tightened. "I will." James turned toward his car, the midday sun flashing on the windshield. As he got in, his face stayed composed, but his mind was already moving, already calculating the next strike his father might make. Because 500 million could buy medicine, but loyalty like this, that could change a war. James didn't watch Phat walk back inside. He got into the car, closed the door, and let the silence seal around him. The engine started with a low growl that felt too calm for what had just happened. In the rearview mirror, the red-tiled roof looked small against the wide, bright sky, ordinary, almost gentle. But James knew better than to trust ordinary. His father never attacked the obvious first. James drove slowly out of the village lane, dust lifting behind the tires. Banana leaves swayed lazily, and somewhere a rooster crowed like it was announcing nothing more than another normal day. James kept both hands on the wheel, eyes forward, thoughts sharp. 500 million wasn't the risky part. The risky part was what he'd asked for in return, a promise. And in James's world, promises could get people hurt. His phone buzzed once, a short message from Phat. "On the way. Thank you. I won't hesitate." James stared at the screen for a beat, then locked it and slipped the phone away. He didn't allow himself to feel relief yet. Not until Phat's mother was in a hospital bed with real doctors around her. Not until Phat's hands stopped shaking. Not until James knew his father hadn't already noticed the shift on the board. At the edge of town, the market appeared midday loud, packed, alive, the kind of place where people came to buy food and pretend the world was simple. Vendors called out prices, metal ladles clanged against pots, plastic bags snapped in the heat. The air was thick with grilled smoke and fresh herbs, the scent of fish sauce and sweet fruit. James parked and stepped into the crowd, the same controlled stride he used in boardrooms. But here, that polished presence felt almost out of place. He looked like a storm walking through sunlight. He stopped at a roasted duck stall. The duck hung golden under the awning, skin crisp and shining. The vendor's smile widened when he recognized a customer who paid fast and asked no questions. "One," James said, "extra sauce." He added a few simple things, small snacks, warm and familiar, not expensive, not flashy, the kind of food that didn't say CEO, but said quietly, "I came back. I remembered you." As he carried the bag back to the car, a strange image slipped into his mind of Diep opening the door, eyes searching his face first, like she always did. She never looked at the gift first. She looked at him, like she was checking if his father had bruised him again without leaving marks. James exhaled through his nose, jaw tightening. He wanted that quiet, and wanting something was always dangerous. The bamboo house came into view under bright daylight, its simple walls warm in the sun. The yard was still, the air clean. No Nini was away. living the normal life James wanted to protect from his own darkness. He stepped up, and before he could knock, the door opened. Diep stood there with her hair loosely tied back, sleeves rolled, a faint line of worry already forming between her brows as if she'd felt him coming. She blinked when she saw the bag in his hand. "You brought food?" she asked softly, cautious the way you were cautious around men who carried storms. James walked in, set the roasted duck on the wooden table. The bag landed with a comforting sound, solid, real, harmless. "For once. For you," he said. "Nye isn't home." Diep's eyes warmed, but the worry didn't leave. She moved closer, gaze lifting to his face, searching the edges of his expression. "James," she said gently, "what happened?" He hesitated just long enough to choose the safest truth. Not a lie, just the part that wouldn't pull fear into her chest. "Phat's mother is very sick," he said. "He needed help." Diep's lips parted. Her hand rose instinctively to her mouth, then lowered again. "So you went to him?" "Yes." She studied him, and something softened in her eyes. Not pity, not admiration, but recognition. Like she saw the man under the armor making choices that cost him something. "You didn't hesitate," she whispered. James looked away for a second, as if the simple fact was too heavy. "He's my ally." Diep nodded slowly. "And you're his family, in a way?" That sentence landed quietly, but it hit James like a door opening inside him, one he usually kept locked. He turned back to her, and for a moment, the CEO mask slipped. There was exhaustion there, and something like fear, not of losing power, but of losing people. "I'm trying to do the right thing," he said, voice low. Diep stepped closer until there was barely space between them. She didn't cling or dramatize. She simply placed her hand on his forearm, warm and steady, anchoring him to the present. "You did," she said, "and I'm proud of you." James's throat tightened. He didn't smile fully, but his eyes eased like something inside him unclenched for the first time all day. They sat down together at the table while the afternoon light poured through the bamboo walls. Diep laid out plates. James poured water. The roasted duck's aroma filled the room with a quiet kind of comfort, the kind you didn't have to earn. For a while, they ate without rushing. James didn't mention his father yet. He watched Diep take small bites, watched the way her shoulders relaxed one fraction at a time, watched the way she pretended she wasn't listening for danger even in peace. And Diep, she watched him too, not like a fan watching a powerful man, like a woman watching someone she cared about fight a war no one could see. Outside, the day remained bright and ordinary, but inside that bamboo house, James felt it clearly. One shield had been strengthened out there in the village, and here, at this table, he had something even rarer. A reason to keep standing no matter who tried to break him.
Phat gọi điện cho James trong hoảng loạn sau khi biết tin mẹ mình bị bệnh nặng và bệnh viện cần tiền gấp. CEO James lái xe đến căn nhà máy ngói đỏ của vùng quê Phat, lặng lẽ đặt một chiếc túi đen được 500 triệu lên bàn, khẳng định đây không phải là sự bố thí mà là lòng trung thành giữa những người đồng minh. Phat cố gắng từ chối, cảm thấy choáng ngợp, nhưng James đã trấn an bằng sự điềm tĩnh và một yêu cầu: khi cha của James trở lại, Phat không được do dự mà phải sát cánh cùng ông. Với quyết tâm đầy nước mắt, Phat hứa sẽ theo James đến cùng. Sau khi Phat đến bệnh viện, James dừng lại ở chợ mua vịt quay và những thứ đồ dùng cá nhân, rồi trở về căn nhà tre. Diệp cảm nhận được điều đó gì đó nặng nề, lắng nghe và luôn sưởi ấm trở thành chỗ dựa và lý do để James tiếp tục chiến đấu.